Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Cherry Pickers Podcast, a podcast where we talk all things hockey. My name is Zach, aka Zoo, and I'm joined with my co-host Brody.
How's it going, everybody? It's been a little while since our last episode, but we're excited to be back at her and bring you some more quality hockey content.
Yeah, so today is episode number 10 of the podcast. We apologize for not uploading an episode last week. Me and Brody, we both had pretty hectic lives lately. I've been working a lot. Brody's been doing stuff to further his career, so we apologize for that. But if you guys do want any updates about the podcast and about the episodes coming up, make sure to check out our Twitter. It is at TCP_show. We post all the updates there. We post when the episodes are live, and we post all kind of hockey stuff on there. So if you have Twitter, make sure to check us out over there. Once again, it's at TCP_show. But like I said, we apologize for the lack of the episode last week, but we are back again. We're ready to bring you some hockey news, so take it away, Brody.
Yeah, we actually we gotta start off with some news that surprised me when I saw it. I couldn't believe it, but Islanders legend Mike Bossy, he passed away at the age of 65. It was I'm not exactly sure what caused that to happen, but yeah, when I saw that on my phone, I couldn't believe it. One of the legends of the game, one of the best goal scorers of all time. Yeah, it's brutal to see. And what are your thoughts on that?
It sucks, man. Like, Mike Bossy is one of those situations where there's so much potential that was just never untapped due to the fact of injuries and whatnot. He never was able to play out his career or play up to that full potential, which is really unfortunate because, like you said, he is probably one of the best goal scorers of all time, if not the best goal scorer of all time. And it just sucks to see that he never really had that opportunity to play it out. But nevertheless, he was such a huge piece of the Islanders organization and such a huge piece of hockey history, and obviously helped grow the game as well. So very unfortunate, very sad to hear the passing of Mike Bossy. We wish his family and all near him condolences and our respect. And yeah, super unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a fantastic career that he had. I mean, he won 4 straight Stanley Cups with the New York Islanders in the early 80s, and yeah, like I think he had 50 goals in 50 games. He was just a phenomenal player, one of the pure goal scorers of the game, and yeah, that's a tough loss for the hockey community, and condolences to Mike Bossy's family and friends, and hope they get through this tough time. And speaking of goal scorers, we actually got to talk about a couple goal scorers in the league this year that have, one, not so surprising, and the other, he's having a great year, and we got to recognize him. And that is Chris Kreider. He has a 50-goal season with the Rangers this year. I still hate myself. I I added him into my fantasy lineup early in the year as an extra forward, and I dropped him out because I didn't think much of it. And next thing you know, Chris Kreider goes on an absolute tear and gets 50 goals. And what are your thoughts on Chris Kreider and the remarkable season he's had so far?
Yeah, it's one of those seasons where it just kind of came out of nowhere and no one was expecting it, but I'm all here for it, man. Chris Kreider, absolute beauty. He's a hard-nosed player. I know a lot of people have had some choice words for him after, his driving to the net and stuff like that, but this season has just been on a complete different level. You look at last season, granted, it was a shortened season, but he only had 30 points in 50 games played, only 20 goals. This year, he's got 50 goals, 22 assists, 72 points in 76 games. He's just been an absolute monster when it comes to the offensive zone of the ice, and yeah, this is obviously his career high in goals. His last career high was 28 goals, which he had twice, but yeah, 50 goals in 76 games on a Rangers team which really doesn't have that much offense to them. They've really been backed by the play of Shesterkin, and even Georgiev as of late. He's been rock solid for the Rangers as well, and with a team that doesn't have that much offensive game to them, and providing, having Chris Kreider score 50 goals is just pretty insane. So yeah, it's been one of those seasons where it's like, okay, this is happening, and we're here for it, So yeah, Chris Kreider's been having a crazy good season.
Do you think the Rangers are for real this year in the playoffs, or do you expect them to be bounced out in the first round?
I think it's tough. It's hard to argue, the good play of Shesterkin And they do have so many offensive weapons up front with Panarin, Kreider, Zibanejad, Lafreniere, Capo Caco, Even Frankie Vetrano's been jumping up on the score sheet too after getting traded at the deadline. And it's tough to say because their defense, granted, their first pair of Fox and Trouba is very, very good. And Keandre Miller's been playing very, very good as well. But it's tough to say. Like, I don't really like their defensive depth. I don't mind their forward depth, and their goaltending's been really good. But I think if they play Pittsburgh, which we'll get into that a little bit. I think if they play Pittsburgh, I think they definitely have a good chance. But I don't know. It's tough to see. Like, if they keep playing at the pace that they've been playing lately, then I don't see why they couldn't go deep. But it's hard to say with the depth of their roster.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, playoffs is only a couple weeks away, so that's very exciting, and I'm very excited for the playoffs to start. And,
what do you think, though, Brody? Do you think the Rangers are a legit team or what?
I'm gonna say. I mean, again, it's pretty tough. I mean, if Shesterkin can keep playing the way he has been this year, I think they do have a chance. But I just don't know if they're quite deep enough to really contend with the teams. I mean, their division is very, very hard. They're going to have to get through some really good teams, and the whole Eastern Conference playoff picture is actually really solid. There's not one bad team that's in the playoffs. I mean, the Eastern Conference is already set anyway. Like, every team except for Washington, I think, is clinched, and Washington's right around the corner to clinch as well. But it's tough. I mean, I can't ever bet against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins with, like, they're making the playoffs 16 years in a row now. They've won Stanley Cups. They know how to get it done. Mike Sullivan is a very good coach. I don't see them getting past the second round at most. I mean, I think the East is just too good. Too many good teams in the Eastern Conference, and I just don't see the Rangers going that far, in my own opinion.
I had the Rangers kind of being a bubble team this year. Granted, we didn't know how good Shesterkin was going to be this year. We didn't know Chris Kreider was going to score 50 goals. But it's one of those, like, Cinderella teams that we're kind of watching where, yeah, they're not bad of a team. Like, if they were in the Western Conference, for sure they would be a playoff team. Like, no doubts about it. And obviously they're going to be a playoff team this year. But yeah, it's kind of one of those, like, teams that you don't expect to do as good, but they are doing as good, and you kind of want to root for them just because they're, not really supposed to be there. So I agree with you there. I don't think they go deeper than the second round. Mark my words, I'm probably wrong, but it'd be nice to see them go a little deep too. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Playoffs, like you said, are very close. Teams are, less than 10 games left in the regular season for pretty much all teams, so it's going to be very exciting to watch.
All right, we're gonna talk about another goal scorer, and this one's no surprise. I mean, he's arguably the best goal scorer in the league right now, and that is Austin Matthews. He's scored 50 goals in his last 50 games. He broke the Maple Leafs goal scoring record in a season. I can't remember what the old record the guy's name
54.
was. Yeah, it was 54.
I'll look it up
but
again.
What was the guy's name?
I'll look it up again. I can't remember. I said it last episode, and I totally forgot, so I'll look it up real quick. Yeah, Austin Matthews, man. What a season he's having for sure. Maple Leafs goal scoring record. Let's see. It's like Rick something, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Computer's being slow today. We'll find it. Rick Vave, that's his name. He scored 54.
Vave. Yeah, so he broke Rick Vave's previous record of 54 goals. And, yeah, Austin Matthews is just on a complete another level. And just what are your thoughts on the season he's had?
Oh, he's had just one of the best seasons goal scoring wise we've seen in decades. He's got just a shot on him. His shot's crazy. The curl and drag that he does just to open up his shot, open up more shooting lanes and stuff like that. And his release is just next to none. And we've talked so highly about this guy, and for good reasons. Like, if anyone's going to, catch up to Ovechkin in their career, it's going to be, Austin Matthews. And he's playing with some amazing playmakers right now, especially in Mitch Marner. And, yeah, Austin Matthews, man, I tell you, he's going to be a goal scorer for years to come.
I got to ask you a question that's going to spice up this episode a little bit.
Let's
and get
do it.
some people thinking. Do you think with how the league's going, with how more goals are being scored, and just how pure of a shooter Austin Matthews is and the numbers he's putting up, do you think it's possible that he could challenge Gretzky's record of 50 and 39, or do you think that record's safe?
50 and 39. Ooh, that's a tough one. At this current moment, I'm going to say no. And it's only because of the fact that the Leafs play in the Eastern Conference. So, obviously, Eastern Conference teams play other Eastern Conference teams more often than Western Conference teams. And how deep the East is right now, I don't see it happening. Just, you look at some of the Stanley Cup contending teams right now in the East. You got Florida with Aaron Ekblad, Mackenzie Weegar, Ben Sherratt. You look at Tampa Bay, they got, Victor Hedman, Mikhail Sergachev, Ryan McDonough. You look at teams like that, like Boston, Charlie McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm, you got such strong defensive cores in the Eastern Conference. Yes, Matthew is a good goal scorer, but, to almost score pretty much 2 goals a game, I don't know. It's tough. I'd say if the East weakens off a little bit in a few years to come, I think there might be a shot that he does it, but I don't know. That's tough to say, man. 50 and 39 is definitely, not an easy feat to accomplish. The fact that he just scored 50 in his last 50, let alone, is pretty impressive. So, I don't know. That's a tough one. What do you think, Brody?
I would agree. I mean, even in today's game and like how you're saying with how good the defensive cores are in the Eastern Conference especially, and just with the goaltending as well, I mean, 50 and 39 is still very hard to do. And I mean, Austin Matthews is proving that he can get like a goal a game. Like, it would not shock me at all at this rate if he got like 70 goals in 82 games, because I think John Cooper was saying something about that too. He actually got interviewed about it, and he was like, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if in the future if he got 70 goals in a season. But yeah, 50 and 39, I mean, he would have to get like 1.5 to 2 goals a game basically, and
Yeah.
even that with how good the defensive cores are in this league now, and I just don't see it happening either. But it's no what's the word I'm looking for, no disrespect to how good of a pure goal scorer he is. And yeah, I mean, 50 and 39 would be something to see, but yeah, I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
I don't think it's going to happen soon, but you never know, man. This league is, it's such an exciting league where things that you never would expect to happen do happen, so I don't know. We'll have to keep tabs on it.
Speaking of things that we don't expect to happen, we got to talk about something that happened very recently, and that is the Ryan Hartman fine. So, yeah, well, take it away. What are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, this was incredible. It was, I don't know. I didn't see the play leading up to it. All I know is there was kind of like a line scuffle, between the Minnesota Wild and the Edmonton Oilers. And all I know is I've seen the highlights with Ryan Hartman being escorted to the either penalty box or off the ice, and flips the little bird out to Evander Kane. And I know that sparked a lot of people on Twitter, and a lot of people in the hockey world were talking about it. And I think it's just funny is that, it was directed towards Evander Kane. And if you don't know about Evander Kane's past, I'm not going to, say it all because we could be here all day about Evander Kane. But I don't know. I don't think highly of the guy. A lot of people in the league don't think highly of him. And Ryan Hartman decided to flip him the bird a little bit. And it ended up sparking a situation where a lot of fans were trying to set up, a GoFundMe to try and pay off Ryan Hartman's fine, which was just short of $5,000. And Ryan Hartman, he turned it into a good situation. He basically told the fans, he said he was, overwhelmed by the amount of support of people wanting to pay his fine off. He said he was going to pay it off, and all the money that was sent to him was going to be going towards a good cause. So, yeah, good on Ryan Hartman to do that. I think the funniest thing about that whole situation is Evander Kane's ex-wife sending him $200 to pay off his fine. So I think that was pretty funny. But yeah, it was a goofy situation. We haven't seen, surprisingly enough, we haven't seen the middle finger being thrown out in NHL games. I think the last time was Andrew Ference when he was playing with the Bruins and he flipped off the crowd after scoring. Yeah, I'm surprised we don't see that more often because that's a pretty common gesture, like I don't know, it's something else. But what are your thoughts on the situation, Brody?
I have to agree. I think it's pretty funny how his ex-wife sent money. That's actually hilarious. But yeah, I mean, we all know of Evander Kane's past and all the stuff he got into, and like Zach said, we could be here all day discussing it. But yeah, you don't really see the bird going up that much in games, and it's surprising. You'd think, especially for rivalry games like Boston, Montreal, like Pittsburgh, Philly, Battle of New York, Battle of Alberta, all those kind of games. You'd think it would happen at least once a year, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation. It's actually pretty cool of Ryan Hartman though to donate all that money to charitable causes. That's actually a class act. You like to see that, but yeah, it just brings a little bit of spice to the game and more exciting news to hear about something like that. And yeah, it's pretty funny.
You know what's ironic about the NHL, Brody, is the fact that players are so like ruthless when it comes to other players. Like the amount of chirps, the amount, all the fighting, the hitting. We've got everything from Alex Burrows pulling hair, people biting each other. Like the game is just it's rude and ruthless, but off the ice, these hockey players are like such nice people, and they're always so classy and stuff like that. And it's funny to see the contradiction between the players on the ice and off the ice. Like you look at this Ryan Hartman situation where he's flipping someone off and chirping at him and yelling at him, and then meanwhile he's giving money to charity. Like I don't know what other sport does stuff like that, and it's pretty funny to me to see the contradiction there between the players, on the ice and off the ice.
Is it just me, or does it seem like the league from, let's say, like 2008 to about like 2016-ish time, is it me, or does it seem like the league was way more aggressive back then with players like, Kevin Bieksa, like Rick Rippon, like Derek Boogaard, Sean Avery? They had that toughness, and that kind of stuff in the game happened so much. And then in the last few years, it just seems like it just went away.
Well, the game has evolved so much. It's become such more of a game of skill, and speed and skill and vision has just become such a prominent, aspect in our sports. And you look at the player shift, like you're saying, you got players like Rick Rippon, rest in peace, and you got players like Kevin Bieksa and Alex Burrows and Sean Avery. They don't have much of space in today's game. Not to say that fighters aren't valuable to teams and stuff, but with the introduction of players like Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, Artemi Panarin, like the list goes on and on of the skilled players that bring such excitement to the game. It's just there's not as much of a space for that style of player anymore, but nevertheless, they are still valuable to a team. You get a guy like, for example, Ben Sherratt, goes for a first-round draft pick at the trade deadline, and what does Ben Sherratt bring to the game? He doesn't bring speed. He doesn't bring skill. He brings physicality. He brings toughness and grit. So obviously there still is a spot for players like that, to shine, especially come playoff atmosphere. But because of the fact that the game has evolved so much, like you take a look at like off-ice training. Like off-ice training over the last like 20 years has just greatly increased, and it's become so much more important to become a better physically fit player. And I think that's just the issue there, is that, well, I wouldn't say necessarily an issue, but that's just the situation that's become, is that players are so much more skilled that now you need more skilled players to compete in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Like the league just took a massive shift from like the physicality to just how the league is now with speed and skill. And I guess an example of this now is how like it impacted teams was, I guess I'll just use this as an example. Being like an Edmonton fan, the way they built their team was like when Chiarelli took over in 2015. That was how the style of the game was. Like you had players in the league like Bieksa who were physical, and like you had like Milan Lucic as well, like those kind of players who were still really good hockey players, and that was how the league was, and that's how they had to build their team if they were going to compete in the West. And then shortly after, the league completely revamped, and then Edmonton was a really slow team that couldn't keep up with the speed and skill of the league, and the league just completely turmoiled. So it's It's unfortunate. Like, it's just how the game is now, and it's exciting. It's fast paced. It's skilled. You see a lot of talent. You see players like Trevor Zegras now, who's pulling off skilled plays, and that's just the normality of the league now. So it's just the evolution of the game and how it is these days, and it's different than how it was in the past for sure.
I think that directly correlates too to the point that you were saying before, how the league has transitioned to such a much more goal scoring league. Is just due to the fact that the tough guys have been kind of eliminated from the picture, and players with more skill and stuff are getting more chance to shine. I think that directly correlates to your point about how the league has started to see such an increase in goal scoring over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And speaking of young players, skilled players that are getting their chance to shine, we got to talk about two players who made their NHL debuts, and that is first and second overall picks Owen Power and Matty Beniers for their respective clubs. You love to see it. What are your thoughts on these two making their debuts?
Well, I didn't watch the Buffalo and Toronto game where Owen Power made his debut. It sounded like he was fairly solid. It sounded like he's, made a good imprint on the Buffalo Sabres organization so far. I did, however, watch the Flames game versus Seattle where Matty Beniers made his debut. He did get a primary assist in that game, and actually, honestly, watching Matty Beniers play, it was very impressive. He played very fast-paced. He was all around the puck. He was kind of buzzing around it like a bee, like he was all over the place. He was in the corners. He was, passing the puck around. He was getting shots on net. I was very impressed with his play, and it's definitely a bright spot in Seattle's future, especially with how poorly this inaugural season has been for Seattle. And watching a guy like Matty Beniers come out where he's first NHL game, he's got really nothing on the line. There's no expectations for him out there, and he just goes out there and plays his game and has fun. And very impressed with Matty Beniers. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to see Owen Power play, but the future is definitely bright for those two teams in Seattle and Buffalo. Having a potential defensive pairing of Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin is just, it's terrifying, man. And Buffalo, too, man. Buffalo has been on a little bit of a tear lately, too. They've definitely picked their stuff up, and they've gotten themselves back to a better position than the start of the season. Everyone kind of predicted Buffalo to finish last, if not second last, and they're not even last in their own conference right now, which is pretty impressive, so that's my thought on Owen Power and Matty Beniers. What do you think, Brody?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be fantastic players for their respective organizations for years to come. And just like you said, Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power could definitely be a very scary D pairing going forward. And Matty Beniers is definitely going to be the future of Seattle for the next years to come. And yeah, Buffalo has definitely they've picked it up. Like, they're playing with a lot of heart, and Jeff Skinner's actually having a pretty solid year as well. But you got to feel for Buffalo, man. They've missed the playoffs for what, like 11 straight seasons now, something like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really look like they're gonna make the playoffs anytime soon with just how tough of a division the Atlantic Division is with Florida, Toronto, Tampa, Boston. Like, they've got some really good teams in that division. It's a very competitive division, and I'm hoping Buffalo can get out of the funk and make the playoffs. It'd be nice to see some new teams in the playoffs, but yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see. But Owen Power is definitely going to be a huge part of that team going forward, and same with Matty Beniers, and I'm excited to see what their careers entail.
So, Brody, it's not a episode of the Cherry Pickers podcast if we don't throw a jab at the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? So, I just wanted to say one thing before we move on to our next topic. Yes, Buffalo has not made the playoffs in 11 straight years, right? But they've still won a playoff series more recently than the Leafs.
Yeah, that's actually pretty rough.
Yeah, I thought I had to throw that in there just to rub the salt in the Leafs fans' wounds. But who knows? Maybe this season the Leafs will actually get something done and make it past the first round.
I hope they do, personally. I kind of want to see them end that streak of out of the first round.
There's really no reason for them not to. They've got such a good team built right now. Like, their decor is on a next level. If Jack Campbell can get back up to Jack Campbell at the start of the season, their offense is one of if not the most deadly offensive cores in the league. There is no reason. Like, I understand, yes, Leafs fans are worried about, how deep this Eastern Conference is this year. But if you're taking on a team like Boston or even, maybe, I don't think they'll take Washington, but, Boston, maybe even Tampa Bay. We know Tampa Bay definitely is a little bit weaker than the last couple seasons where they won the last 2 Stanley Cups. I don't think there's really a reason for Toronto not to, at least make it past the first round this year. So the expectations obviously are very high in Toronto, so I hope that they can exceed them.
So I'm going to ask you a question because we're talking about Toronto in their playoff run. Do you think if Toronto does not get out of the first round this year, that Kyle Dubas is going to be out of employment?
No, I really don't. It's, like I said, it's one of those situations where the Eastern Conference this year is so deep, man. It is so deep. And Kyle Dubas has done such a fantastic job of bringing together such a good organization, with drafting in, Matthews and Marner. I don't know if he's the one that drafted them, but, having these young guys come up, their core, their forward core is relatively young with guys like Kerfoot and Pierre Engvall and stuff like that. I think they've done a good job. Money situation, it's kind of hard. It's like the situation in Edmonton where you got, McDavid and Draisaitl. They're, 2 of the best players in the league. Of course, you got to pay them big bucks. Same with Matthews and Marner. Bringing in Tavares, yes, he makes a lot of money. He's still, pretty much a point-per-game player, and he's, the born leader of that team. So I think Kyle Dubas has done a good job of assembling a team here. I don't see why the fault would be placed on the general manager. Like, we've talked about it before, this Toronto team is very, very deep. Maybe goaltending's a slight issue for them, but that's really about it, And I truly think that if there's any fault that's going to be thrown around in that Maple Leafs organization, it's going to be on the head coach before the general manager, if anything.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't think Kyle Dubas' job is in jeopardy at all if they don't get out of the first round, but I don't think he did draft Matthews and Marner because I
don't think so.
I believe he was an assistant GM to Lou Lamoriello when they were first in, like Matthews and Marner. I could be wrong there, but I don't believe he was the one who drafted them. But yeah, he's done a good job with managing their cap situation. And yeah, the biggest suspect for me for them in the playoffs would be their goaltending. I think their offense can compete with anyone. I think their defense is pretty solid as well. It's just I think the goaltending, if Campbell can be the way he was at the start of the year, I see no reason why they can't get out of the first round. But again, it's a really tough division and a lot of competitive teams. Personally, I just hope Tampa's out in the first round. I'm going to say right now, I want them out. I want a new cup winner. I don't want to see another repeat winner. It would just, I want to see somebody else do it.
I don't know, man. Tampa Bay's kind of a wagon. Bringing in Nick Paul from the Ottawa Senators has done wonders for them. He's been playing fantastic. Same with bringing in Brandon Hagel over from the Blackhawks. Man, Tampa Bay, just when you think that they're going to be falling off, they're coming right back up. And it's very ironic because Tampa Bay was kind of in a Maple Leaf situation, especially remember when they won the President's Trophy and got swept by the Blue Jackets in the first round of the playoffs. I know a lot of criticism was on the Tampa Bay Lightning during that situation, but they've really bounced back, and I think that's something that the Leafs need to do now. And I remember we were having this conversation with the situation where Matt Sundin got interviewed, and Matt Sundin was saying how he believes the Leafs could win a cup with this core. And I think Toronto's got to do the same situation as Tampa Bay, where you get that first round exit, and you understand what you did wrong as a team, and you got to convert that and turn it around and make it work your way. And but yeah, going back to Tampa Bay, man, you can't count them out. They're still a really deadly team. As long as they have Stamkos, Kucherov, Braden Point, Victor Hedman, Vasilevsky, the list goes on, and you can't count them out of anything. So as nice it would be to have another Stanley Cup, like a new Stanley Cup winner, you still can't count out the Lightning.
I want to ask you this question now that we're talking about who we think might have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Let's pick an underdog team that isn't either of our favorite teams who we think could challenge for a Stanley Cup. We would like to see make a playoff push.
For sure. Okay. I've been rooting for this team in the West. I'm not going to lie to you. They've been my underdog team this year. The only thing that concerns me about this team is their lack of forward core and their lack of success lately. but it's definitely been my underdog team to cheer for, and I'm excited to see what they bring in these playoffs. My team is from the West. It is the Minnesota Wild. I really like their play. I love the line of Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and Hartman. Zuccarello is low-key one of my favorite players in the league. He's the only Norwegian player in the league, and I have Norwegian descent, so that kind of hits home for me. But yeah, Minnesota Wild, especially after picking up Fleury, like what's not to like about them? They're such a very high energy, go 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 kind of team that makes a lot of things exciting, and I've started to like a lot of Nick Delorier's play. He's a gritty, just go, go, go kind of guy. He hits hard. Like, I remember watching the Minnesota game against Vegas the day of the trade deadline, and Nicholas Delorier slotted in the lineup for that game, and within the first 10 minutes, he had something like 4 or 5 hits already, and I don't know, Minnesota's just one of those teams that I'm super excited to watch every time they're on, and yeah, they're kind of my underdog team. I know that they're second place in the Central, so they're not overly an underdog team, but they're not cup favorites, so that's my team. What's your team, Brody?
Yeah, I gotta say that like Minnesota is so well coached too. I believe their coach's name is like Dean Evison or something.
Yes,
he's really put in a good structure there where they are a very good team, because you look at their team and they don't seem like they have all the talent in the world. Like, they've got some really good players, but they just put it together and they play a structure that gets the job done for them and seems to do wonders for them. And yeah, I don't know. My underdog team, now I'm thinking about it, obviously the team that I would want to root for if my team goes out would be Colorado, but they're obviously not an underdog. So we're not going to say them. But I've been watching this team, and I don't even know if they're going to make a playoff spot. They're still kind of right on that cut line, but if they do get in, a team that I would like to see go on a run would be the Dallas Stars. I don't know. I would like to see those like black and neon green jerseys in the playoff. That would be just
so nice.
Something about those jerseys, man. That would be cool, and it'd be nice to see a different team go on a deep run. So for me, I don't know. I would like to see Dallas or just somebody else,
I like that choice, honestly. Dallas, they've had such a rocky season, and their big names have not been the big names they expected this year with, Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. And no, but the play of Jason Robertson lately, playing alongside Joe Pavelski, like, those two together have just been electric. And no, I agree with you. It'd be cool to see Dallas, get somewhere as well. But like you said, that not Pacific Division, but that Western Conference, it's so tight right now. Tonight is Saturday night hockey night in Canada, and there's some big games on tonight. We got the Oilers playing Vegas. That's a huge one. You got Columbus is playing LA. You got Calgary has a chance to clinch as well. But you look in specifically that Pacific Division, and Vegas is only 1 point behind LA for the third spot, and they've got a game in hand. So if Vegas wins in regulation, or just wins in general, and LA loses in regulation, then LA's bounced out of a playoff spot, and LA was holding that third spot in the Pacific for quite a while. So it's super tight in that Western Conference right now, and like you said earlier, the Eastern Conference is set in stone. Like, we already know what teams are going to be playing. It's just a matter of matchups now. But that Western Conference is definitely something exciting to watch, especially coming close to the end of the season. We'll have to see kind of how it unfolds.
Yeah, like the Pacific Division is really heating up right now. Like, there's, you got Edmonton at 92, I believe. LA's at 88, so they're still within striking distance of Edmonton. Then you got Vegas, who's right behind them, and even Vancouver is making a push to make a spot too. So anything can happen there. And personally, I think if any team's going to fall out right now, I think it would be LA. And the reason I say this is because they're missing their number one defenseman now, and Drew Doughty, for the rest of the year with wrist surgery. And Vegas is just getting healthy now. Like, they're getting Max Pacioretty back. They're getting Mark Stone back. They're getting some pieces that are going to help with their push. And Vancouver is making a push as well. So, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens down the stretch, and there's going to be some exciting hockey games coming up, especially Edmonton's playing Vegas right now, so I guess we'll wait and see what happens there. But yeah, a lot of scenarios that can happen in the Pacific for sure.
I think the one thing too, I think if I were to predict it, I truly think Vegas is going to clean up that third spot in the Pacific Division. I don't like Vancouver's chances now, especially due to the fact that they lost Bo Horvat as well for a couple weeks. He's going to be out with an injury as well, and that's their leading goal scorer right there. So that's going to be an interesting one. That Pacific Division, man, it's all up in the air right now, and it's really for anyone's grabbing. So that's going to be interesting. Before we wrap up this episode, Brody, I want to have a little discussion. I know near the start of our podcast, we did a little bit of a trophy prediction. I want to talk about one trophy here. Now that we're getting near the end of the season, let's talk about the Hart Trophy. If you're new to hockey or don't know what the Hart Trophy is, it's basically the player that is most valuable to their team, voted on by some sort of NHL committee. I think it's like the PHWA. I don't know anything about that, but long story short, the award goes to the player that is most valuable to their team and their team's success. Let's run it down, Brody. I want to hear your top 3 for the Hart Trophy. Who you think deserves 1, 2, and 3. I'll go first so you have a little bit of time to think about it, but we're going to reverse the order. So I want to hear your third, and then your second, and then your winner for the Hart Trophy. So, third place for me, I think right now I'm going to say Johnny Gaudreau is my number 3. For the Hart Trophy. He just broke 100 points this season, first time in his career. He is currently, I think, second in the league's plus-minus. He has like a plus 50 right now. That top line for Calgary's plus-minus is incredible. And obviously Calgary, second best team in the Western Conference. So I think Johnny Gaudreau is my third pick for the Hart Trophy. Who is your third pick for the Hart Trophy, Brody?
My third pick for the Hart Trophy is actually the same player that you just said.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
He's had a good season. Like you said, he's pushed 100 points. He's got a great plus-minus, and he's a big reason why Calgary's having the success that they are. So, yeah, he's also my number 3.
Cool. Okay. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay. Any reason? Or
you can't deny how good of a season he's had for Toronto. I mean, he's had 50 goals in the last 50 games. He's a huge reason why Toronto is having the success they are this year. His defensive numbers have also been really solid as well, and he's just having a fantastic season. So I think, for me, he's my number 2 pick.
I have a feeling that our 1 and 2 picks are reversed, but I'm going to say my number 2 pick anyways. I have Igor Shesterkin of the Rangers being my number 2 pick. Like we've talked about before, without Igor Shesterkin, really the Rangers are kind of just a mediocre team, and Shesterkin has had unreal numbers this season, numbers that we really haven't seen in quite a few years in the NHL, and he's been the backbone of that Rangers team, and he's pretty much the reason where they're at right now. So, who's your number 1, Brody?
Now that you just said him, I actually kind of forgot about him. So, my number 1 was actually Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators.
Okay, yeah, I like that pick.
For anybody who's been watching hockey this year, it doesn't really pay a whole heck of a lot of attention to the Nashville Predators. Roman Josi is having a phenomenal season with the Predators right now. He's putting up
unreal.
He has 80-something points or something right now as a defenseman. He's popping off, and in my opinion, if Roman Josi is not on that team, I don't even know if Nashville's in a playoff spot, to be completely honest with you. I mean, he's having a whole nother level of a season, and I think he should be in that conversation for the Hart.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I have him pretty much at my 4 spot. I have Austin Matthews at number 1, like we've talked about so much. I'm kind of hopping on the bandwagon with Matthews, but yeah, Roman Josi this year, man, he's just hit the 20-goal mark. He set the franchise record for most points in a season for the Nashville Predators as a defenseman, which is very impressive. Me and Brody have always loved Roman Josi's play. We've been following him for years, and we said, about 4 or 5 years ago, we basically said that he is pretty much the most underrated player in the league, and he's really blossomed into this elite, number 1 defenseman for any team, and yeah, the amount of assists that he's piled up, the 20 goal mark, good plus minus. He's captain of the Nashville Predators, and he's really helped this team become a solid playoff team. And yeah, Roman Josi, heck of a season. If you haven't been paying attention to him yet, you need to start paying attention to him because he is such a good hockey player. But yeah, I had Austin Matthews at number 1. You pretty much hit it on the nose. Great goal scorer, good defensive numbers. He's been carrying that Toronto team, been scoring every single night for him. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm really excited for the NHL awards this year because I've been following along with them quite closely, and it's going to be exciting, and I can't wait to do an episode about all the awards and stuff like that. But before the awards comes playoff time, and playoff time is approaching. We're very excited to be covering that. If you guys want to hear about more hockey stuff, make sure to check out all the Twitter accounts we have. First of all, the podcast Twitter account at TCP_show. That will give you updates on when new episodes are coming out, any information on the episodes. We also just post, random hockey stuff on there. Make sure to check out my Twitter as well, at your boy Zoo. That's Zoo, Z-U-U. I also stream over on YouTube, upload YouTube videos, but I talk a lot of hockey. I follow a lot of Calgary Flames stuff. Check out Brody's Twitter too. Brody, what's your handle on Twitter there?
My
Isn't it
handle
Brodog
is, it's Brodog_. I'm looking to get more followers on Twitter. I'm not as big in the social media side as Zach is currently, but I started doing this podcast with him to grow my social media platform, get myself out there more, and yeah, just kind of be in the community more and just posting some stuff for all you fine people out there.
If you are looking for the most wholesome Twitter user on the platform, look no further than at Brodog_. That's BRODDOG_. Like I said, we're trying to reach out to you guys more. We're trying to take in, potential topics for the podcast, potential questions for the podcast, anything like that. But if you are a hockey fan and you want to stay involved in the hockey world, make sure to check out all of our Twitters as well. But, Brody, I think that about wraps it up. Is there any more points you'd like to add before we dip out of here?
I'm pretty much good. I think we covered most of the topics of this week. And, again, rest in peace to Mike Bossy. We hate to see it. Absolute legend of the game. And condolences for him and his family.
Brody's got a Oilers game to go watch now, so.
Big game.
Big game.
Couldn't miss this episode
game
for you guys, but big game.
Absolutely. So we appreciate every single one of you for tuning in to the Cherry Pickers podcast. Our podcast is available on all streaming platforms, whether that be Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Google Podcasts. We appreciate every single one of you listening. We upload one episode every single Sunday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And like I said, check out our Twitter so you'll get notified if we have any changes to the weekly episodes coming up. But we appreciate every single one of you. Hope you guys have a great evening or night, and take care.